So, that's where the mucusless diet is coming out of that type of situation. So the question is, what do you have to do to adapt this mucusless diet into a lifestyle? And that's the question that Brother Air and others in Cincinnati had been asking for the past 30 years. So read the book, I finally, read, Mucusless Diet, that blows me away. Then Dr. Who was telling me that rational fasting is even deeper. That it's really, that it slams in a whole different way. And I was like, okay. So I read rational fasting. And what was interesting that in the dorm was really close to Clifton Natural Foods. It was this natural food store that sold the book. I mean, it was a walking distance. So I was walking distance away from the book. And the Mucusless Diet is a reasonably priced book. It's $4.95 is what it's been for years and years. And so I bought, I had, before when I had bought both of the books, and I would find myself buying many copies of the books and handing them out to people and giving them to folks. One thing I want to do later, I got questions from friends from Facebook and YouTube and all that. I want to address some of these issues after I kind of talk a little bit about myself. But there was a question that Brother Owen asked about what did the diet do for my spirituality. And you could say that my spirituality led me to the diet. My spirituality is my music, and my music is my spirituality. And I consciously use music as a means to pursue what some people, I guess, call self-realization, or that which has no good that really doesn't have words to describe. Like I was interested in that. I was interested in following the path of John Coltrane, Love Supreme and After, for those of you that are hip to train. But so, in high school, I'm living like several lives at one time, and I've always kind of done that, where, okay, high school, on one hand, I'm like, good student, getting mostly straight A's. Then, football player, and that's kind of how I'm identified by a lot of people in the school. And I wanted to be popular and stuff, and so I, developed a kind of persona and whatnot, and was able to have that little bit of social capital. But then I was a musician, and I was always first chair. Got Louis Armstrong Award. In fact, so I can show you guys my stuff. It's my Louis Armstrong Award. I'm very proud of that because the students vote for that. That's a award that all the members of the jazz ensemble had to vote to as who's the best jazz player, who's the best leader in the group, and I got that. I think Dr. Who got it his year.
And every one of the singers are deserving of it, but this year's award winner is Michael Goki.
So So I had the music thing, but I also in Boy Scouts. And I became an Eagle Scout when I was 15 years old. I was one of the youngest Eagle Scouts in my troop, and I was still very active. I was also in something called Order of the Arrow, and where I also was bestowed with the highest honor in that organization as well for my work in there. And so I was like, in addition to all of that, I love me some partying. You know, I love to go out and just go crazy, you know, in social situations and do all the things that are taboo that you're not supposed to do, but that a lot of people do anyway, you know. So I was doing all these different things, and on top of all that, you know, I'm blowing my nose all the time, and I'm sick and going through bronchitises and, you know, and all these ailments and stuff. And so it's just this rigor. And, you know, and you start to, as I reflect now, I just see how rough we are with ourselves, you know, when we're not taking care of ourselves, when we're eating whatever with impunity. We got this attitude like, you know, we're gonna die anyway. It's like, well, I mean, even if you have that attitude, doesn't mean that your quality of life has to be terrible. Doesn't mean that you have to suffer and be in pain all of your life. Doesn't mean that you had to, you know, pass away with little dignity. With all that said, with all of those different things, I was also really interested in trying to find answers to the harder questions, the more philosophical questions or theological. Or for years I'd studied Christianity. I came up in a Catholic church, and I was always that guy in Sunday school that had his hand up asking them questions that the Sunday school teacher didn't have any that the Sunday school teacher just was not gonna answer, you know. Where I'm like, you know, now wait a minute, now I read here that they said this, but Jesus said that.
St. John 10, verse 10. Are there any questions?
Hey, watch it, baby. This cat is heavy on religion.
I can see this has become a struggle between good and evil. Satan has a question.
Yes, sir, Chaplain Gill, but since neither one of us are God, I don't think either one of us are in any position to say who's good and who's evil.
You know, and but I was really wanted to know what was happening. You know, I wanted to know about these things. And so as I got older, I branched out and I started reading and studying all the major religions of the world, and gotten into theosophical studies, which is kind of a study of kind of an introduction type of study to a lot of the different religious modalities and ways of thinking. And think that their idea is, you know, all religions are just branches from the same tree. You know, it's all got different pieces.
Some of these interpretations call the reality God and say he is one.
The contribution of Sikhism towards humanity.
Others say he is many. He is called male, female, or androgynous. Described as transcendent, immanent, monistic, dualistic, a trinity, as including all things or nothing, and on and on. In fact, the interpretations seem to range from one extreme to another in almost every conceivable pair of opposites, with each defending the legitimacy of his view. Throughout the ages, these contrasting opinions have caused friction. But in the smaller world of today, they collide so bewilderingly that many persons have fled from the whole notion of religion in despair. So what does this prove? Does it suggest that all religious doctrine is an illusion, a humbug, the opiate of the masses? Or are the religions dealing with basic truths and really saying many of the same things in different ways? And if so, what are those truths? And finally, do some religions contain greater truths? Before answering, let us withhold judgment and consider some of the great religions and their teachings, those which have endured over the centuries while mighty nations have flourished and declined. Perhaps to an open mind, these teachings may speak for themselves.
Of course, the principle that is shared across most religions, and I think it is shared with major religions, is do unto others as you would have done to you. Golden rule. Hence why I make this video.
Let's check the common denominators. First, all the teachings show concern for mankind as a whole, for they have similar moral and ethical standards, which, if truly accepted and followed, would have ushered in an era of world peace ages ago. That they have failed to do so certainly cannot be blamed upon the religious teachings, but upon man himself, with his inability or unwillingness to follow and observe these rules.
Do unto others as you would have done to you. Golden rule. Some people criticize or say, like, man, why are you trying to change the world? Or, yeah, you know, it's kind of, when they see, you know, making music or talking about the diet publicly or something like that, and they get up and, you know, it's like, okay, so talking about the diet is I'm trying to change the world. But if I was talking about the Bengals, I was talking about you know, Super Bowl Sunday next week, that would be okay. You know, but because I'm talking about this information that it's not my fault it challenges the listener, or that it may challenge the listener. Like Sunrise said, you know, I'm just like the birds. You know, the birds sing. You know, you can choose to listen or you don't have to. You know. I was, you know, so I just started just really studying, reading a lot. I had a trombone teacher, Eddie Morgan, who was into Paramahansa Yogananda and actually had practiced Kriya Yoga for 30 years. And this is my senior year in high school. And he told me about this book, Autobiography of a Yogi. And that was right, I had just gotten kind of access to internet. That was right when internet had just come out a few years earlier. So, and I had some friends that were kind of computer gurus, and so, you know, I was hanging out with them, and so I got introduced into the whole internet world through that way. And then by the time we got it, my senior year, then, you know, I went on, they already had Autobiography of a Yogi online, and I'd already figured out how you could have books read to you through the computer. And so, you know, so I checked out Autobiography of a Yogi, and I was like, yeah, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I want to hear. You know, I'm interested in hearing about immortals, you know, Babaji. You know, I'm interested in hearing about this, you know, what it takes to attain this kind of peace and tranquility. It was like, I wanted that path. You know, I wanted the peace and tranquility path as opposed to the stimulant, steroid, kind of thing. The stimulant, steroid, kind of thing. I was like, man, I did that already. I already did that whole type of real stimulated existence, man. I just want to chill now. Just like, and so I checked that out. Now later on, I will find out. Had the opportunity to hang out with jazz legend, jazz great Curtis Fuller, trombonist, who was very close to John Coltrane, and I think it was 1957 or a little earlier, but around that time, right? It turns out that Autobiography of a Yogi was very instrumental in the transformation, the spiritual transformation that John Coltrane went through, that predated the Love Supreme, So I read that, and there's other things I was into that would later be very useful. Some call the Sedona method. I call it Sedona yoga. It's really like a yoga type of. You can use it like a yoga practice. There's a lot. I mean, I could get off into. I mean, I was just. There was a point where I just had this surge of like self-help mode. It's just every self-help book and course I could take, I took. Speed reading, man. I wanted to be able to read. I just wanted to be able to read blazing fast. I did all these different speed reading courses, and actually found one that worked pretty good. I might do a review of that one day. Those courses, mind, how to, memory courses and all that kind of stuff. I was just real interested in trying to develop, just develop myself on the highest level, And so all of that hit, and now I'm about to go to college and study music and really try to go down this path, that I accepted that I'm gonna be an artist, which I don't take lightly. And now is another thing that Brother Air had said on that fateful day that was profound, which was that, if you're going to consider yourself an artist or a musician or anything along those lines, you have to understand that the trombone or the piano or the drums is not the instrument. This is the instrument, the body. And that made sense, It's like, yeah, like why would you work so hard on an instrument only to go and just defile yourself, and just go and let it all loose, or go and smoke and drink and, and just do these things that, you might be addicted to, but that it's not the best way to go. To answer Owen's question, the diet profoundly impacted my spiritual path. I mean, it was where my path was leading me to. It was like, okay, to attain the levels that I want to attain, I have to go down this road. I have to go down this path, and the Mucusless diet is a real path. It's a real piece, and because what I hope to demonstrate and show the more that we talk is it's different than what a lot of people think it is, because there's a lot of folks that think it's raw foodism, and it's not, eretism, mucusless diet is not necessarily raw foodism. It's not veganism. It's not vegetarianism. Yet it's all of those at the same time. Now, how can that be? Well, it encapsulates all of those various levels because it is a transitionary system. You go from point A, you start right where you're at, whatever you're eating today, it's okay. Don't ever feel guilty or feel bad or feel like anxiety, like, oh man, I gotta change, or being scared, if feel like that there's some judgment or something, like, man, just that's not what this is about at all, and that's not what I'm about at all. What this is about is, here's some new information that can uplift, has the potential to uplift. And when you're talking about Arnold Ehret's Mucusless Diet Healing System, you're talking about a system that will take you where you're at now, and you might go through a level that could be considered vegetarian level, and then you getting up, and now this level might be considered vegan, and then you're up in here now. This might be considered raw foodist, but here's more. You keep going. Now this level might be considered fruitarian, you keep on going. Now you get to not only fruitarian but mucusless fruitarianism. Now you're getting closer to the top of the mountain, but yet further. There's a whole world of fasting to get into. So the mucusless diet, a system that'll take you through all of these various levels and allow you to achieve whatever it is you aspire to achieve, if you're dedicated to do what it takes to stick to the program. Now, the other thing, you can choose to get off the elevator at different levels of progression. I chose to just stay on the elevator. I didn't. I could have got. There's many. Sometime I'll show you guys my pictures, or maybe I'll show them right now. There are different periods. It's almost like I look totally different every 2 or 3 years, and every time I get to a kind of a plateau, if I wanted to get off the elevator, all I'd have to do is just ease up. Just add a little bit more mucus when I don't necessarily crave it, or just don't fast as much, or just slow it down and just glide, and there's been a couple, different places where aesthetically, I looked pleasing to the American eye. Anything that's pleasing to the American eye is probably not going to be the highest level of health, because we don't know what health looks like at all. We have no perspective of what health looks like, and so there's always this, and with America, it's always this preoccupation with being, too skinny, or this, or and then for other people, it's like, oh, I gotta get more skinny, and that's all that. And it's like, when I got into the diet, me and Brother Air never talked about weight. I wanted to lose weight, and I had tried to lose it over the years, but when me and Brother Air talked, we talked about health. We talked about natural laws, like what are the natural laws that govern the human body? I would think that they would be as easy to comprehend as gravity, you know, because all we hit for gravity, you know, why'd they do that? You know, I can get into, you know, physics of all the explanation, but it's just like, it's something that a child can observe, gravity. But why is it that when we start talking about health, we get off into all of this other kinds of complicated stuff that children wouldn't be able to understand? When you talk about health and you get to the point where children can't get it, you too far off, you know, into these theories that are like, here we go around the mulberry bush. Because, you know, I see children all the time when I'm at the supermarket. It's funny because I see children, because I'm always in the produce section, and I see children walking by and they're always like pointing at the fruit and like, can I have some? Can I have some? And there's a lot of times when the parent will be like, no, and they keep walking, and then they go over to some candy. So this thing is real simple, you know, yet the only reason that it is deep to us is because we've gotten so far away from simplicity. We've gotten so far into all of this complicated, complex stuff that is about, it makes about as much sense as, you know, the world is flat, you know, and then somebody else comes and says, no, the world is round and it's the center of the universe. And somebody's like, no, the sun is the center of the universe and the world goes around the sun. But what's the sun go around? And what does whatever the sun go around? We don't know what's going on. Come on. just so like, okay, all of that, let's before we get to all of that, before we leave the earth and we get off into all this other stuff, let's figure this thing out here. Let's figure this body out. You know, while we're in it, let's figure this thing out and get back to its simplicity. And then wherever you want to go, you know, take your body with you, you know. And so,
For untold thousands of years, multitudes of voices all over the face of the earth have spoken words like these as an affirmation of their faith in the existence of a great unseen reality, an ever-present intelligence beyond the perception of the five senses.
That would be where the altered destiny would come in. Equation-wise, the first thing to do is to consider time as officially ended. We work on the other side of time. We'll bring them here through either isotope teleportation, transmolecularization, or better still, teleport the whole planet here through music.
peace, love, and breath.